Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to do a top 10 eyeshadow palettes in my collection video. I love seeing other people's top 10 eyeshadow palettes on YouTube, so I thought I'd do my own version. Here is a little glimpse of what you're about to see come in the video today. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate that very much. And yeah, I think we should get on with the video. The first palette that I had to include had to be the Isamaya Core Palette 2.0. I am definitely a girly that prefers shimmery, metallic-y, glitter topper shades over mattes, so a full shimmer palette only makes sense for me to have. I am a neutral lover, however I do love a pop of colour, and this palette provides just that. You can see the beautiful greens, blues, the red. In the pan alone, you can see how reflective and multidimensional these shades are, and you have a mixture of satins, metallics, duochromes, eyeshadow toppers, the full lot, and I love that because then it can build up an eye look and make it so pretty. Just simply using one of these shades all over the eye can make such a statement look. Or if you pop one in the inner corner or brow bone, can just add a bit of fun to the look, and that's why I chose this palette as the first palette to include in my top 10. Anyways, moving on to the second palette. The next palette I chose was the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. I would have to have something pink in my collection, and this palette provides just that. As you can see, this palette has a variety of mattes and shimmers, and it leans on the cooler tone side, which is also my preference when it comes to eyeshadows and tones. I lean more towards a neutral to cool side over warm, but I do enjoy warm when I have a fake tan. But yeah, this palette also has a mixture of everything. You have the toppers, duochromes, mattes, and it has like a Vaseline shade, which I'm not a fan of. Don't get me wrong, like I don't like that shade. But excluding that, this palette is so lovely. Also, shout out to this amazing packaging because hello, look at that. That is such a cute vibe. Anyways, palette 3. The next palette up is the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes, the OG one specifically. I love how basic yet amazing this colour story is. I feel like you need that perfect neutral palette, and this is the one for me personally. You have light to mid-tone mattes in this palette with one deep shade. I wish there was maybe another deep matte, however, I don't mind it too much as the eyeshadow toppers in this palette just make me so happy. We have 4 eyeshadow toppers in this palette alongside 1 metallic, which is an amazing ratio for me as I pick toppers over metallics any day of the week. These toppers go well with any of the mattes and just create a perfect no effort look, which makes you look like you put a lot of effort in. Anyways, moving on to the next palette. For this palette, I have chosen the Natasha Denona Yucca palette. I love a bit of colour now and again, and this colour story is so inspiring and interesting to me. Also, I love this like ombre, greeny, bronzy orange packaging. It is so cute. As you can see, this colour story is very unique, so this is why I chose this palette. I love that pale lime green as an inner corner or brow bone pop. Also, the shimmers in this palette are so gorgeous. They lean more on the greeny side, but there's like a goldy green, a sage green, as you can see when I do the close-ups. And the mattes are just very interesting. There's a few neutrals, as you can see, but there is very nice colours that I can play with to spice up the look. When I want some colour, I do enjoy a green. It's not the most colourful palette, however, it just adds enough colour to where it's out of my comfort zone and it makes me feel confident. Moving on to the next one. Next we have the sister to the Isamaya Core 2.0, which is the original 1.0. I love this grungy colour story. Like, this is nearly much me in a palette. I could wear this every day during the daytime or nighttime. It is a full shimmer palette minus 2 of the shades. It's like a navy blue and a black. I wouldn't classify them as mattes. These are more of a putty consistency. It's easier to go in with your ring finger and just smudge them to create that worn in eyeshadow, which I love. Similar to the 2.0 textures, we have eyeshadow toppers, metallics, duochrome eyeshadows. Even though this packaging is quite difficult to store, I just love the aesthetic. They have changed the packaging since, but I'm so happy I have this OG packaging as it's so cute. Moving on to the next one. Next up, we have Makeup by Mario Master Mats, the Neutrals edition, which is the second Master Mats he has released. I love Makeup by Mario palettes. They might be my number one favourite palettes. I told you guys I do prefer shimmers. However, I need a nice set of neutral mattes. I prefer cooler tones, and this matte palette is the perfect matte palette for me. How many times do I say palette? These matte shades are the perfect base before I do add the metallics and shimmers on top. We have very light shades going up to a black, which I love. This grey matte is also quite a unique addition to the palette. Can just add coolness to any single matte you use. To be honest, in the footage, I don't know if I use different lighting, but it doesn't look too cool toned. However, in person, I promise you guys, it is. I feel like everyone needs a perfect all matte palette for them, and this is the one for me. Moving on. Next up, we have the Colourpop Stone Cold Fox palette. This has every cool tone matte and shimmer you could ever need. We've got the greys, the browns, the pink tones, mauve tones, just everything really. This palette contains matte eyeshadows, sequin matte eyeshadows, and our standard metallics. I used to always reach for this palette, however now I do like an eyeshadow topper, and there is none in this palette, which it's understandable because eyeshadow toppers didn't get popular until a few years ago, and this is an older palette. However, I still love and cherish her. Now, I mainly love this palette for the mattes. I'm not really a sequin matte girly. I feel like my eyes can get easily irritated. I mainly love this for the mattes. Not only the tones, but the depths of these mattes are perfect. We have the light, medium, and deep matte shades. I love how this palette's organised as well. We have the deepest mattes at the bottom and the lightest mattes at the top. So it's very easy for the eyes to create a look, and that's why I love this palette. Next palette. Next up, it wouldn't be my eyeshadow collection without a Pat McGrath Mothership palette, and I decided to choose the Mothership Free Subversive palette. I feel like this is an underdog in the Mothership collection. It's either loved or hated by people, but I chose this because of the colour story. It does contain neutral mattes and some shimmers. However, the special shades is sort of the reason why I chose this palette, to be honest. It has a very nice special shades, and this is the OG formula. I think it's been changed now, sadly, so I will cherish and love these palettes forever. We have some baked shades, some eyeshadow toppers, some matte shades, some satin shades. This has like 4 or 5 different formulas in this palette in the 10 shades it has, which is why a lot of people love this palette, as you can get very textured looks. I tend to lean towards neutral mattes with the shimmers, metallics and toppers being more colourful and playful. That's my happy grounds, I believe, and I just love the colourful metallic and glittery shades in this palette. Definitely an evening palette, but this wouldn't stop me from wearing this to the supermarket or during the daytime. I do not care. And yeah, I love Pat's palettes, especially this one. Anyways, moving on. I couldn't have a top 10 collection without a matte rainbow palette, and this Beauty Bay one is the one that I decided to choose, as it has every rainbow matte you would possibly need, and it's also on the affordable side, which is really nice, as at heart I have a bougie makeup preference. I can't help it, it's just my preferences, but this is truly the palette I go to whenever I want to add a pop of colour to my makeup look. I also appreciate the fact we have a true white and a true black shade, as well as the top row being a row of neutrals. I wouldn't say this is the perfect rainbow palette for me personally, but it's the only one I have in my collection, so that's why I have chose this colour. However, I am on the hunt for another rainbow palette, but for now, this serves its purpose as being my rainbow palette in my collection. Not too much to say about this palette, we just have the full rainbow, and I feel like for me, I don't always reach for this palette, however, I would be lost without it. I feel like it's just essential to have in anyone's collection when you just crave that pop of colour, whether that being just wanting to create a rainbow look or a pop on the lower lash line in a corner or brow bone, just for an extra bit of pizzazz to the look. But yeah, this is my colourful palette of choice. Moving on! And the very last palette to round up my top 10 would be the Makeup by Mario again, Master Mattes OG version. Unlike the cool tone version, this has the perfect neutral to warm mattes that I would need, and this is the palette I will always reach for when I want them warm toned mattes. Like the cool tone version, this has an array of light to dark mattes, and this is ordered according to the palette, top to bottom, light to dark. I love the sleek magnetic packaging and just how simple this palette is, and that's all I've really got to say. It's just a perfect standard matte palette for any look I create, and that is it. That is the top 10 eyeshadow palettes that I would choose from my collection to be the only 10 palettes I would need. I feel like I covered this very well in my humble opinion. I have covered all my favourite types of eyeshadows. I have my all matte palettes as my base for my looks, and I have my favourite metallic and eyeshadow toppers in my collection. I have covered all my favourite colours when I want some colour, and I have every depth I need, to pale shades, pastel shades, to my mid-tones in all colour waves, to the deep dark shades I love for drama. I would love to know your favourite palettes in your collection, and maybe what you would choose if you only could have 10 palettes. Please comment down below and let me know, because I love everything makeup. And yeah, I think that's everything I need to say, so bye guys, see you again in another video.